Welcome, one and all, to Colby College's Bicentennial Commencement. May the divine presence bless all those who have come here today to celebrate the achievements of all these incredible students. Students, as you continue on your paths, may you be blessed with and choose to pursue lives defined by courage. May you be inspired by two essential words written in the book of Joshua, Chazak ve'amatz, be strong and courageous. May the lessons you have learned here and the gifts you have received prepare you not only to have the courage to innovate and take risks for your personal advancement, but also to confront apathy and wrongdoing and instead pursue righteousness and truth in all arenas of your life. Make this country, this world, more beautiful, more kind, and more just as a result of your presence in it. Let us thank our Creator for ushering us to this point and nourishing us on our journeys with the traditional Jewish blessing, the Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, source of life, who has animated us, lifted us up, and brought us to this day. Ken yehi ratzon, may it be God's will, and let us say, Amen.
Members of the class of 2013, parents and family members, members of the Board of Trustees and faculty colleagues, administrative colleagues, all, welcome to this 192nd edition of Colby's commencement ceremonies. We gather here today to acknowledge, to praise, and to say farewell. Thanks to all those who have journeyed from afar to be with us. Many of those who have made that journey are parents and grandparents and other family members whose steady support has made the achievements of these students possible. We salute you, and we thank you for your efforts. At times, I know it must have seemed like it would never end, but now it has, and I know that your students are grateful for your support. There is another group here that deserves the praise of students and their thanks. We know how many kinds of things you have done while at Colby, but none were more important than those you did in the classroom and other places where the intellectual mission of the college was in view. And in those places, none were more important to your growth than the faculty who taught and counseled you. I know that your parents and the faculty present today would appreciate your recognition and applause. Because this day is about students and their accomplishments, it is fitting that we begin this commencement program with the address of the person chosen by the senior class to speak on its behalf. To introduce that person, I am pleased to call forward the officers of the great class of 2013, Erica Hinman and Nick Zeller. Please welcome Nick and Erica.
Thank you for the introduction, bro. On behalf of the senior class, Nick and I want to express our appreciation for everything that you have done for the Colby community. It's safe to say that we've all had an amazing time here, and your work is an important part of that.
Thankfully, it's not our job to shower you with life advice today. That falls to our next two speakers. So we'll try and keep this shorter than a civil discourse post and less sappy than an email from Dean Terhune.
So the typical class president speech move here would be to tell all of you how much we've enjoyed spending the last 4 years with you. It'd be over the top, emotional, and cliche to the point of physical pain.
And that's totally where we're going with it.
4 years ago, we all arrived at Colby and listened to Bro's first year address. He told us about the bicentennial celebration we would have our senior year and some notable accomplishments our new classmates had already achieved. This list included people who were log rolling champions, opera singers, and national chess champions.
Since then, we have a few more things to add to that list. Students in our class are Fulbright scholars, have established the first gender and sexuality diversity position at Colby, started a social enterprise that provides solar-powered lanterns to kids in Zimbabwe, and have won several NCAA championships, among many other things.
The bottom line is, we could put something down for everyone in our class. We've all come a long way in our 4 years. Nick and I just want to say how much fun we've had with you along the way. We can't think of 503 other people we'd rather sit with, baking in cheap polyester for 2 hours on a Sunday morning than all of you. Hopefully the feeling is mutual.
All sappiness aside, we're excited to introduce our class speaker, Mike Langley. Mike is an English major from New Jersey. At Colby, he writes and edits for The Echo, as well as The Libel, Colby's first satirical news publication, which he also founded. He learned to speak publicly under the tutelage of Colby's own David Mills, who once remarked fondly that, quote, "Michael should wear a different shirt. It's too dark against the blackboard." Mike's wit is legend around campus, and we can't wait to hear what sarcasm-tinged words of enlightenment he'll be dropping on us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Langley.
I should have prepared something. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Nick. I would like to begin by extending a warm welcome to all of you, to the families of the graduates, to the faculty, to the administrators, and to the staff. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you also to my fellow members of the class of 2013 for granting me the great honor of speaking here today. I must confess I'm a little surprised you elected to have two Van Gogh experts speak at the same commencement, but here I am, and I suppose we'll all just have to try and make the best of it. It's very hard to contain my excitement today, but before we get too far into this business, I'm going to preface my remarks. I understand that these ceremonies can often run quite long, so trying to do my part to have you out as quickly as possible, I've kept my speech to a tight 75 minutes. And if necessary, I will cut out my 23-minute aside on the rise and fall of Robert Everett Pattison, as you know, Colby's third president, though I certainly hope it doesn't come to that. Now, you may not have realized it, but 2013 is, in fact, the year of Colby's bicentennial. This is a big deal, and I want to congratulate my classmates for having the thought, the foresight, and the tenacity to be born in the years 1990 and 1991. My apologies to the hockey team if that made you feel left out. But really, this is a very exciting occasion, and I hardly know what to say. Since discovering that I would be speaking today, I've researched perhaps thousands of commencement speeches from speakers of all types, and analyzed them on a variety of metrics that I'm not going to get into right now because they do not exist. But through my reading, I discovered the characteristics that make an excellent commencement speech. It would have to be funny, optimistic, but not too optimistic, from the heart, but not hackneyed. The excellent commencement speech would have to, in some small way, show an old bit of wisdom in a new light. Give something that the listeners could carry with them for the rest of their days. Shortly after, I decided I wouldn't be giving an excellent commencement speech. Instead, I'm going to try and give a pretty good one. One thing I noticed in my studies was that, and forgive me if this seems a little too intellectual or ivory tower for you, but all of these speeches seem to have a theme, some central message or takeaway. And for a while, I considered different themes that I could use for this speech, running through the ones that seem so popular, so common at commencements. But each time I was close to settling on one, that damned collection, that veritable suite of critical thinking skills that Colby's imbued us all with, got in the way. I thought about getting up here and encouraging you all to pursue your passions, but it occurred to me that some of you may have very foolish passions. For example, it doesn't matter how much you love arson or insider trading. These pursuits won't bring you lasting happiness. So the hell with it. This speech doesn't have a central theme. I realize this is slightly unorthodox, and some of you may now be wondering how best to react to such news. Let me reassure you that you are being a terrific audience thus far, and my only other advice maybe would be that you should feel free to applaud, weep openly, clap your seatmate on the back and say, "By God, this Langley boy's really got something here." Or even stand up and say, "He speaks for all of us." But really, it seems a little ridiculous for me to be up here speaking to you all as if I could possibly possess any authority on this occasion, as if I could possibly give you any advice. Two problems with that idea. First, we're in the same graduating class. I can't see any further than you can. I'm not even a particularly good member of this graduating class. I was once 50 minutes late to a class. I took 4 semesters to complete my required 3 semesters of foreign language instruction. And second, I've worked reasonably hard, not very, mind you, but reasonably hard, to determine the few guiding principles that I believe in and by which I live my life. And it seems a little absurd you'd expect me to come up here and just give those away for free. Reflecting on the meaning of graduation as it is happening, it's like driving the wrong way down an empty highway. You're in your car and you can see a sign coming up, but it's facing the other way. All you see is its bare metal backside. You know it must signify something important because, well, why else would there be a sign there? Today, for an instant, the car is next to the sign, and you're excited to have reached it. But all you can see out the passenger window is the thin side of it as you zoom inexorably forward. Today's significance is written on the front of the sign, but you'll never get a good glimpse at it. You won't get it perfect because you've got to keep the car going straight. You've got to focus on the future, even as you try to figure out what the hell just happened. Today we're graduating, but tomorrow we'll be moving home or moving to someplace new, perhaps starting jobs, perhaps starting job hunts. But we will be moving on. So I can only really rely on my own experiences here and hope that you find some common ground. I'll admit something personal to you all. I've grown quite fond of this place and of all of you. But coming here, I was more cynical. Coming to Colby, I was the first to acknowledge the seedy underbelly or the downside of things. And where no seedy underbelly or downside existed, I was happy to invent one. If a person seemed too nice, I was the first to point out that he may in fact cheat on his taxes or act rudely to waiters. But 4 years at Colby have worn me down. Colby's got its flaws, certainly. We've all woken up to an unsightly bit of dorm damage or heard our peers say something disappointing. We've all had our omelets taken in the omelet line. But you can't spend 4 years eating, studying, running, responsibly consuming adult beverages, and generally living with a group of people without running into their good side. While I've had bad days here, the balance leans far more toward the days where I walk around as if in a dream, pinching myself on the forearm, disbelieving the privilege I've had to be able to come here and live here and work here. And other days, I run around pinching other people on the forearm, because I want them to appreciate their privilege too. They may act offended and scream, but I can tell they're thanking me on the inside. And how could we not feel privileged to come here? Certainly the grounds look great now, if we were outside, when they've been manicured and tended to and sculpted for the past few weeks. but I'm sure you can all pick any time of the year, and you've probably had that one day that just stops you in your tracks. I always chose to walk out the main entrance of Miller, and whether you were looking down to the fall colors in the Arboretum or out across the snows of winter or the early spring mornings, you knew that this was somehow special, that this wasn't something you could get really anywhere else. You're gonna miss that view. Class of 2013, we've had some times together. We've had moments where all we wanted was for our classmates to stop talking, and we've had those conversations that we wanted to keep for just another few minutes, pressing late on into the night. We've spent gray sub-zero days in front of our computers researching on Travelocity just how much a flight to the Virgin Islands would cost. And we've spent hours outside in the snow, sledding, skiing, and skating. We've had papers that have sucked away our time, that we've hated, that we have wanted to light on fire. And we've had those ones that even after hours and days spent, we still wish we had a little more time. We've won dining halls by staying later than anyone else, and we've inhaled take-4 meals in the 10 minutes between classes. And perhaps most importantly, we've all had those professors that have worked us harder than we ever thought possible, who set high expectations, who led us through difficult papers, problem sets, projects, and tests, and showed us that, without exception, we could reach higher than we thought. We may not know what this is all about until we're a little further down the highway, but today, rest. There will be time to determine what the sign says about commencement. In the final analysis, it may say something different for each of us. To all my friends and classmates and professors, to the tireless staff who keep this place running, thank you. It has been an incredible privilege to live and work with you over the past 4 years. Thank you.
The Condon Medal was established in 1920 through a bequest from Randall J. Condon, a graduate of the class of 1886 and a distinguished educator who was, for many years, the superintendent of schools in Cincinnati, Ohio. With the exception of the World War II years, the medal has been presented annually by vote of the graduating class and the faculty to the senior or seniors who have exhibited during the college course the finest qualities of constructive citizenship. This year's Condon Medal winner is Madison Oswald Lewis. No celebration of the class of 2013 and its achievements would be complete without a remembrance of Derek Flahive. Derek was the kind of person who leaves a mark and who leaves memories. And those of us privileged to have known him are unlikely to forget him. His class is not the same without him. Derek was a standout student and lacrosse player at Kent Denver School in Colorado, and a member of a remarkable family whose common focus is to do good in the world. In addition to working on development projects in Africa and serving as a mentor in the Colby Cares About Kids program, among many other activities, Derek wanted to preserve wild places. He died during his junior year in just such a place, Patagonia, in a wild river he loved. Derek's Colby classmates, teammates, coaches, teachers, and friends remember him as an independent spirit who committed himself passionately to people and to ideas and to music and to sports that he played so well. We all wish he were here today, looking forward, as all of you are, to his next adventure. Let's observe a moment of silence for Derek. Thank you. Colby, as you know, is celebrating its bicentennial. Surprise. And today, you don't know this, I think, the 30,000th Colby diploma will be awarded. I'm not going to tell you which one of you is the 30,000th. This year's opportunity to reflect on where the college has been led very naturally to a decision by the Board of Trustees to confer honorary degrees solely on Colby alumni and alumnae at this commencement. Shortly, you will hear citations about each of these recipients. All I can say now is, mule pride. Our commencement speaker this year is a member of the great class of 1973. I won't step on the wonderful citation written by his faculty host, this year's Bassett Teaching Award winner, Peter Harris, by telling you too much about Gregory White Smith in this introduction. What I will say is that he, along with the other honorees sitting on this platform today, represent the highest hopes Colby has for these seniors, that you will live rich and deeply meaningful lives and will enhance our world. Please welcome our 2013 commencement speaker, Gregory White Smith.
We're working out the liquor arrangements. Thank you. Thanks. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Adams, and thank the faculty and the trustees of Colby, and for this, the remarkable honor of this honorary degree that I'm about to receive, and the honor of speaking to you today on this crucial day. And I'm sorry, as I'm sure you are, that we're not on that grand lawn, but better to be dry and warm. And so here we are. This is difficult. This may be, I've written a lot of things in my life. This may be the most difficult thing I've ever written. And the reason is that we have two different concepts at war here. One is the form of the commencement address, which, as you all may know if you've been to commencements before, is a very demanding sort of formality. And I think a generation that is less patient with formalities and is more ironic, and it's harder, my sense is that it's harder to break through that sense of irony that you've developed, which is quite a useful tool as you go through life, and I'm not shifting that. But it is harder and harder, I think, for us to get at mutually across the generations a core of common feeling about just about anything. But I think we can do that about Colby. And I want to thank you for having me for this momentous occasion. It's momentous not only for Colby, for you, first of all. Let's start, oops, sorry. I didn't even see it there. For you, obviously, it is momentous for Colby, for, as you have already heard, it is the bicentennial year, and you are the bicentennial class. And that means you're like a Christmas baby. You are all this and a bicentennial too. So you are unusual in that regard. My name is Greg Smith. I use the white because my last name is Smith, and because my grandfather didn't have any male children. He didn't get to name any sons after him, and my mother wanted one of his grandsons to bear his name. So that's where the white comes from. Let me see. I have rewritten and written this speech many times, and it's a lot of blue marks on it. So if I read a blue mark, you'll understand. I have to say, when Bro asked me to do this, I really had to scratch my head and say, why would he want me to do this? Why am I? This is such an important day and such an important speech. What about my history makes me worth this honor? I admire the college's decision to have their bicentennial graduation, your graduation, filled with Colby alumni. So the entire lineup of honorees is Colby, and I think that's a terrific idea. And you will see, when you hear the citations for these other honorees, that the Colby ranks are filled with people of really stunning achievements. I wish you could have been there last night at the faculty dinner, where we heard from each of these honorees, and I'm sorry in some ways you won't get to hear from each of them, not just from me. They are a more diverse set of people. It would be hard to imagine a more diverse set of experiences, and mostly what I was struck by is the diverse ways in which they have used the education that they all received at Colby and achieved these remarkable lives. And I think that was, for me, I would have thought the most comforting and consoling thing that would come out of your having attended the dinner last night. As for me, what I thought was crazy is that, was less than well considered, was that I've had a pretty mashed up career, filled with jumps between occupations. I'm a lawyer, I'm a publisher, I'm a writer, so what am I? I could imagine the trustees at the Colby trustees asking Bro, well, what kind of writer is he? We did a Google search, and it says that he wrote an exercise book. And, well, yes, that's true. That's true. And some pop psychology books. Well, yeah, that's true, too. And what's this I hear about a sex manual? Well, yes, there was a sex manual. But my name was only on the title page, it wasn't on the cover. And true crime thrillers. Yes, that's true. Actually, 3 true crime thrillers. But in my defense, I am a lawyer. But doesn't he also publish a legal directory? Well, that too, but is that technically a book? And I mean, is it even written? Did I mention that he also wrote 2 biographies of artists? I mean, really, if you think about it, it's sort of a mess. I look back, I mean, it would be easy to look back on my career and think, what a mess. It's less like a resume than like the ramblings of some drunk guy at the bar who's been cut off and just keeps talking. Well, the question is, can you plausibly, much less laudably, construct a career out of all these diverse pieces? As it turns out, and this, I think, may be the key to why I was asked to speak, that this is the career path that many of you will follow. Not exactly, obviously, but in the sense that, as you've probably seen, research shows that the average college graduate at this, namely you, will have 7 to 9 careers in the course of your lifetime. That's something that was unthinkable when I graduated from Colby. The model was very different. It was one pretty much one career, maybe two. You could be a lawyer and a doctor. I knew some people in law school who were going to be lawyers and doctors, but they were kind of considered sort of on the periphery. I mean, they were out there, and no one knew precisely what it is. We thought maybe it was like being bisexual. They didn't know really which, but they were one or the other, but they just didn't know which one yet. Your chances of staying with the same company, much less the same career, are practically nil at this point. So you may jump from public to private, from profit to nonprofit, from, as someone I know did, from finance to fine arts. I know someone who made a killing in the stock market boom and then retired at age 32 to take a job in philanthropy. The best student in my law school class was a legislator in the Massachusetts State House who thought he needed a legal degree to serve his constituency better. His name was Barney Frank. He did okay with that. Of course, there will always be people who blow straight through life on the same trajectory from birth to death. Doctors, scientists, scholars, some of them up here today, and it would be easy to envy their certainty. I know now in your moment of uncertainty, with their prescribed paths and seemingly settled futures. And there's no doubt that that kind of singleness of purpose has created some of the great achievements of human history. A lot of my law school classmates, however, had the same kind of beeline career. They raced through high school and college as if they were shot out of a cannon. A cannon pointed straight at a secure partnership and a prominent law firm. And after 30 years of tax law, they decided that maybe that cannon had not been pointed properly. So there are pluses and minuses to that kind of knowing exactly what you want from the beginning and following it straight through to the end. So in this world of fluid careers and frequent self-reinvention, it seems that really serendipity is the new security. And I wish you'd been here last night for these wonderful stories and testimonials by the honorees today, because if there was one common theme to their little talk, each of their little talks, it was serendipity and how important a role it played in their careers. A particular person, a particular professor, a particular moment, a particular experience, and that was their aha moment when they thought, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to be, that's the path I want to follow. So I'm partly here to be a spokesperson for serendipity. My life is really a study in serendipity. I applied to law school to please my father, something I'm sure none of you are aware of, is motivation you would never be familiar with. He was so tired of me frittering away my wage-earning years with this suspiciously named liberal arts. It didn't help that after I graduated, I took a year off on a Watson Fellowship. And Watson Fellowship is basically a grant for you to travel for a year and anywhere in the world you want to travel. And you do some studying, but you construct your own studying. It's like a year-long Jan plan, essentially. And I understand that you call it woofing, or I heard that term. But I did that and had a great time, and it was in music, of all things. I was an English major at Colby. I took a Watson in music, Renaissance and medieval music. Don't ask, it's just a flyer. Eventually, I came back to Earth, but I hadn't been at the law school, this is the Harvard Law School, very long, when something happened that knocked me sideways again. Something completely out of left field, something I did not expect, one of those things that crashes into your life every now and then and changes everything completely. I met Steve Nafee. Steve Nafee was the son of American diplomats and spent most of his childhood in the exotic Middle East, which for me, who grew up in the flatlands of Ohio, seemed like, you know, another universe. And he'd come to this Harvard Law School for the same reason I had. He was a summa cum laude graduate of Princeton, and he could get in. And here's the serendipity part, he was writing a book. He already had a contract with a New York publisher and with a friend of his, but the friend dropped out, and he needed somebody to finish the project with him. So he asked me if I would do that. And I said, sure, why not? That was just, you know, again, serendipity. I've been writing essays and stories since I was a child. So I thought, what could be so hard? It's a book. It's just a long-term paper. That book, which was published the year we graduated from law school, was the first of 16 books that Steve and I have written together so far. It also marks the start of a professional partnership and a life partnership that has endured and flourished for almost 40 years. Then came another bolt out of the blue. In the early 80s, I was 34, yes, 34. I went to the doctor because of some persistent headaches. A few days later at the Mayo Clinic, I was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor and given 6 months to live. I'll turn that page. Around that same time, a friend who did not know of my diagnosis was looking at a list of Steve's in my books. Steve's in the audience somewhere, I haven't located him. Was looking at a list of our books and said, now tell me, which of these would you want thrown on your coffin as it's lowered into the grave? And I know he meant it constructively, but it hit me a little harder than I think he imagined. And 4 years later, Steve and I finished our biography of Jackson Pollock, the first really serious book we did. I'll get to the exercise books and the sex manual later. Among the books we wrote to make the ends meet while we finished Pollock was a book on lawyer-client relationships. We had law degrees. We thought, well, let's use them and see if we can sell a book, and we did. And the Pollock book paid like we figured it out, about 11 cents an hour. That's what we earned for the Pollock book. That was better than Peace Corps wages, but not much. And it took 8 years to write. Our editor on this law book suggested that we add an appendix to that book, which was would be a list of best good lawyers in various cities around the country. And we said, well, sure, we can do that. How hard could it be? Well, that casual suggestion turned into a biennial directory, an online database, a business that has 50 employees, offices in multiple cities, and a presence in 70 countries. And this is true. It spawned an industry that now has 1,000 competitors. So serendipity works in strange and wondrous ways. A lot of stuff crossed out. You'll be happy to hear. The point of all this is that life is full of surprises. It's full of unexpected turns and reversals and setbacks and sidesteps and recoveries and magical interventions, the good and bad, and serendipitous encounters, and serendipitous suggestions, serendipitous acquaintances. So this is one of the sort of central facts of life for everybody, but I think for your class, for your generation, it is especially true and apparently is going to get truer. Of course, you also face special challenges. I don't want to gloss that over. It would be the irresponsible commencement speaker who didn't make allusion to something that you already all know well, and that is the economy is slow, shall we say. The job market is what they call sluggish. I think a terrible word. It makes it sound like somebody who's just having a bad moment. I think it's a word invented by people who don't really know how soul-numbing it can be to be unemployed and or to be underemployed. It's not just the continued precariousness of the economy, it's also the prospect of more earthquakes to come and the creeping suspicion that the whole system might be fundamentally flawed in ways that are unfixable. Now, it's true that that same technology has given you tools to meet the new challenges. For instance, you have this, well, not for instance, primarily, you have this fabulous new resource called social networking. You can search the job markets from coast to coast without leaving your desk or your phone. You can cast vast nets of friendship, organize flash mobs, spontaneous parties, pop-up restaurants. You can mobilize movements, embarrass politicians, galvanize public opinion. Almost anything you do, you think, or you believe you can share with almost anyone in the world, and you can do all that without taking your thumbs out of your pockets. You also have virtually unlimited access to information. Now that sounds like a great thing, and it is a great thing. The internet makes it possible to access pretty much all of the world's knowledge at any one moment and eavesdrop on a lot of its pitfalls and foibles. And these are great new tools, there's no question about it. But they come with their own risks and their own challenges. I was, as a part of preparing this bicentennial commencement speech, I looked back at previous commencement speeches at the sesquicentennial and the centennial. And in 1973, at the sesquicentennial of Colby, the President Arthur J. Roberts said, and this was in the middle of the stock market crash, right in 1929, right when the stock market crashed, right, which really kicked off the Great Depression. He reminded the graduating students that year, new occasions teach new duties. Paradoxically, a world of modern conveniences and interconnectedness will require more of you than the world required of us. Better judgment, more willpower, more initiative, more focus, more discernment. It will be easier and easier to coast, to float along on the mosh pit of information and commentary and feedback and the endless possibilities available on Google or Facebook. But do you really want the whole world at your fingertips? Do you really want to be at the fingertips of the whole world? In a virtual world of endless possibility, will the real world, with its inherent limits, burdensome rules, wounding disappointments, and tangible consequences become less attractive? In an era of endless connectivity, I also worry about the difficulty of disconnecting, of unplugging from the world and just thinking, being alone with yourself. Would Einstein have done his famous thought experiment about the speed of light, about riding on a light beam, if he could have been updating his Facebook page? Frankly, I also worry about the self-centeredness that lies contrarily at the heart of social networking. Andy Warhol Andy Warhol, an artist who made narcissism into an art form, said that in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. That's the dark side of social networking. It is the culminating expression of a culture of celebrity, a culture of me. It offers to satisfy the craving for celebrity, for fame, or at least attention or conspicuity of everyone at once, even if it's only for 15 seconds, not 15 minutes. Life becomes a series of such moments of attention, and the winner is the one who has accumulated the most points, the most friends on Facebook, the most followers on Twitter, the most readers of a blog, the most hits on a YouTube video. The soullessness of these kinds of connections, I think, becomes only more apparent and less satisfying as they multiply. Finally, this whole process of finding oneself and each other online plays out under the prying eyes of corporate America and the denizens of the internet deep, always looking for consumers of whom they can make a tasty meal. And who knows if the government ever really backed away from its ambition to record every thought and every desire you ever committed to the internet. Even without the will to exercise it, it's a scary power to contemplate. And that's a world you will grow up in. The internet may be the single most important technological advance within your lifetimes, but it poses risks too. Information overload can obstruct learning, which is all about organizing experience and seeing old things in new lights. The very open nature of the internet puts huge demands on the user, determining what is true and what is junk, literally, in the hail of daily messages. Distinguishing honest opinion from paid opinion can require the ratiocinative abilities of a Sherlock Holmes. As a writer, I worry especially about the effects of the new technology on the attention span of readers. I'm sure you've heard this before. It has made communication easier and more frequent, reassociated everybody with the QWERTY keyboard. It no doubt has made communication easier and more frequent, but also hastier and more ephemeral. Why bother to say it well? Why bother to find the mot juste if everything you put down is going to disappear into the ether? Spelling is far too burdensome when your thumbs are doing the talking. Sentences shrink. As communications miniaturize, attention spans shrivel. Emails are the new essays, fussy, old-fashioned, and boring. Blogs are the new books, and books have been pushed off into an amorphous category called long form, a term I had never heard before and has never been necessary before. And of course, I have the question, where does that leave 1,000-page biographies? If shortened attention spans close the door to complex ideas and long stories, that becomes a threat to my profession. If people become impatient and frustrated with detailed information, in-depth reporting, and thoughtful analysis, that's a public hazard in a democracy that already privileges the literate class and depends on their diligent attention for its survival. So to sum up, these new technological tools are capable of amazing things, and your generation has already achieved some amazing things using them. For criminy's sake, you helped elect a president. And let's not kid ourselves. If it hadn't been for you and your mobilizing ability, and your willingness to get out there and your youth and your energy, I don't think Barack Obama would have won either of the last 2 terms. And thanks to all of those things he did, and we are all grateful to you for that. But to use these tools effectively, to control them and not be controlled by them, you need to exercise good judgment and discernment, and that is to think critically. You need to distinguish fact from falsehood, opinion from persuasion. You need to recognize fakery and reward merit. You need to be able to tell the cheap from the worthy, to see the difference between truth and what Stephen Colbert so rightly calls truthiness. You have to develop thoughtfulness, patience, and close attention. You have to embrace curiosity and open-mindedness, and always keep a healthy dose of skepticism at the side. You have to practice sensitivity to others and always treat respectfully the people with whom you disagree, even on Amazon reviews. And you have to develop a secure sense of who you are. Now, if those things sound familiar, they should. Those are the things that you've been learning for the last 4 years. Those are the things that Colby promised you would learn at a liberal arts college. And if you've been paying attention, those are the things you have learned at a liberal arts college. Let me read to you from an official statement of Colby College and its educational philosophy in 1974. 1974. Colby is concerned with the ideas and values as they are inherited from the past and as they are perceived in the present and as they may be developed in the future. A sense of breadth of human knowledge is fundamental to the liberal arts. The college seeks to develop the critical and intellectual faculties by which students may discriminate among ideas, may evaluate their heritage, and may achieve intellectual and personal integrity. The college is also concerned with the development of creativity, for to create is to learn how to deal with the environment actively and open-mindedly with sensitivity and confidence. That's not too shabby. I thought it was pretty good for something written in the 70s by officials. This was I graduated in 1973, exactly 40 years ago, and it was the middle of the Vietnam era and the counterculture, and the Roberts Commons. There was a commune, if you didn't know it, in Roberts Union, which was the first co-ed dorm. It was the experiment in co-ed living that everybody thought was going to send us all to hell. And we survived that. And but this was I say when I found this as I was digging through the archives, I thought, well, that actually still really encapsulates what a liberal arts education is all about. But yet the liberal arts have been under siege lately, as I'm sure you're aware, dismissed as a relic of an earlier era, a sort of prehistoric 20th century notion, even 19th century notion. In tough economic times, they're derided as irrelevant, a luxury whose benefits are untrackable and, God forbid, unquantifiable. And in any event, they don't help people with the problems that they face in real life and the uncertainty they face in the future. Well, I'm here to say that's crazy talk. And this may be the first time that the term crazy talk has appeared in a commencement address. We need more liberal arts, not less. The world, we meaning we adults, last generations, the world needs more liberal arts, not less. If this sounds like the ringing defense of liberal arts, I don't mean to sound defensive, but it is a ringing defense. we LA types have remained too quiet for too long in defense of our long and distinguished tradition. I, for one, am sick of those people who beat up on the liberal arts. Is it liberal to be curious about the world and about yourself? Is it liberal to respect those who differ from you? Is it liberal to have a sense of inquiry, a delight in discovery? Is it liberal to have a skepticism of authority, to remain vigilant against the abuses of power that power seeks as inevitably as water seeks the sea? Is it liberal to have a respect for history and to see the enduring in the merely passing? Is it liberal to believe in education as ultimately the only path upward? Is it liberal to have an appreciation for excellence in all its expressions, in sports as well as in scholarship, in skill as well as in science? Is it liberal to have respect for the subtleties of the human psyche, the complexities of human relations, or the vulnerability of human desires? Is it liberal to share a generous respect for facts, with a special admiration reserved for scientific inquiry, the most fact-based expression of human aspiration? Is it liberal to have a reverence for human potential, but also a sensitivity to human frailty? Is it liberal to have an appreciation for the fine arts, the innermost expression of human aspiration? Is it liberal to acknowledge the infinite in whatever form we find it? Is it liberal to be brave in thought, but thoughtful in action? Is it liberal to have a sense of shared responsibility in giving back to our communities and in respecting the small planet that we all share? Indeed, these are values enshrined in the liberal arts, and I, for one, am proud to claim them. And we do not need less of these liberal arts, we need more of them. If anything, we suffer from a shortage of them. Do you honestly think the financial system would have collapsed if our institutions were guided by people who really absorbed the liberal art values of intellectual honesty and empathy for the suffering of others? The liberal arts are our bulwark against the resurgent tide of ignorance, extremism, and sectarianism in our country and in the world, as well as the rising tide of fear and hopelessness. America is a country founded in the spirit of liberality by founders steeped in the liberal arts. They envisioned a place where people could practice the religion of their choice or none at all, where citizens could write and speak freely. Colby is a college founded in the spirit of liberality, a place where people of differing persuasions could learn together in dignity and mutual respect. I was founded, as you know, as a Baptist institution, but it was a break-off branch of the Baptist Church, and the Baptist Church was a break-off branch of the Protestant Church, and the Protestant Church was a break-off branch of the Catholic Church, etc., etc. All of these people were looking for more liberal environments in which they could practice their ideas, preach their ideas, believe their ideas, disseminate their ideas, and have their ideas tolerated by others. So the liberal arts is not just a cozy study of the cozy past. It is the crowdsourced wisdom of countless generations that came before you, including mine, the baby boomers, about which you must be sick of hearing. I'm not proud of everything my generation contributed to this worldwide commons. Your generation will make its own contribution to the ongoing project of the liberal arts. And from what I understand, you have already begun to you've made a down payment on your contribution. You had your own Arab Spring right here in Waterville. Think of the liberal arts as a cloud. Remember the famous, I think it was Microsoft, or the cloud. It is the cloud. The cloud represents the collective wisdom of all these generations of people who have faced exactly the same problems and dilemmas that you're facing right now. Each successive generation inherits the cloud, enters it, learns from it, but also adds to it and reshapes it. Think of each generation as a software upgrade. I'm trying hard to make this accessible. That's the task ahead. That's what your liberal arts education calls on you to do, to upgrade the past. Absorb the tradition, then make it your own. Before the 19th century, the cloud didn't respect the women's rights or Aboriginal rights. Before the 20th century, the cloud didn't respect minority rights or care about income inequality. They wouldn't have known what you were talking about. I hear there's a movement to reclaim Colby. Well, you don't just need to reclaim Colby. Now you're going out into the world, you need to reclaim the liberal arts. You need to reclaim the world for the liberal arts, and in so doing, reclaim the future. With the new technologies you have available to you, you have already bent that curve. As I've said before, you elected a president, and I will say now, with your activism and your thousands of acts of individual emotional bravery and your example of tolerance and mutual respect, the LGBT movement would never have made the advances it has over the course of my lifetime. Because of you, I can marry the man whom I have worked with and loved for almost 40 years. And I thank you for that. And we, of course, still need, my last point, brings me to my last point. And I'm glad we're not outside on a cold and windy day. And of course, we still need the liberal arts to answer the oldest questions, the ones that never go away, that I'm sure you're all asking at some level or will ask soon. Who am I? Why am I here? How do I want to spend the limited time I have on this planet? How can I make a living doing it? How can I make a contribution doing it? How can I make a life doing it? And what will make me happy? And most importantly, how do I find the right person to share my life with, someone to have my troubles and double my pleasures, someone I can see every day and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that and every day for the rest of my life, and still look forward to the next day? Those are answers that no algorithm can answer. Those are questions that no algorithm can answer for you. If you answer those questions correctly, and the liberal arts can help you, have helped you do that, I promise you, you can make the life you want. So congratulations to the class of 2013, the Bicentennial class, and thank you all very much.
Dean Kletzer.
President Adams, I would like to present to you the candidates for honorary degree. President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Science honoris causa, David M. Bodine IV.
David M. Bodine IV. human geneticist, national leader in the study of genetics of blood disorders. You are the senior investigator and chief of the Genetics and Molecular Biology branch at the NIH National Human Genome Research Institute. Having entered Colby more interested in extracurricular activities than academics, you credit Professors Art Champlin and Miriam Bennett with seeing your intellectual potential and challenging you to meet high expectations. You did not disappoint. You graduated from Colby with a degree in biology and environmental studies and were awarded the Webster Chester Prize in Biology for excellence in undergraduate research. After graduate work at Rutgers and the Jackson Laboratory, your academic career took you to the National Institutes of Health as a postdoctoral fellow, staff fellow, and section chief. At NIH, your research has focused on the genetic basis of new blood cell formation. You have served as president of the American Society of Gene Therapy and counselor to the American Society of Hematology. And you received the NIH Mentor of the Year Award and the Daniela Marie Arturi Foundation Pioneer Award. You have served on numerous editorial boards and are the author of more than 100 peer-reviewed publications. In the past decade, you have been mentor, advocate, and friend to 24 Colby students working in your lab, warm colleague to faculty members, and champion of our academic programs. You have instilled in students your love of research and discovery, as well as confidence in their abilities, and the college thanks you for helping them launch successful careers and lives. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, David M. Bodine, IV, the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, the hood with which you have been invested, and this diploma, which I place in your hand, are visible symbols of your membership in the Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
My mic on? I'll start over. President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Education, honoris causa, Eleanor R. Duckworth.
Eleanor R. Duckworth, cognitive psychologist, observer of children's learning, teacher of teachers, education activist. You studied philosophy as a member of Colby's class of 1957 and psychology and pedagogy at the University of Paris and the University of Geneva. You were a student of renowned Swiss developmental psychologist Jean Piaget. For many years, you translated his lectures for English-speaking audiences and taught courses on his scholarship. And you developed key ideas from Piaget into new methods and insights. You have held appointments in North America and Europe, and you have lectured and consulted across the globe, from teaching third graders in Quebec and college students in Nova Scotia and Geneva to serving as a researcher and lecturer at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. In 1981, you joined the faculty of Harvard's Graduate School of Education, where you were professor of education and served as chair of the learning and teaching area, director of teacher education programs, and now in retirement as research professor. Your contemporary lectures on education in the United States address the shortcomings of education policy labeled as school reform. You maintain that current policy deprives students of a good education and teachers of their professional dignity. You help fellow educators appreciate that children's minds have their own logic and integrity. You have written, quote, "What I love to do is teach teachers. I love to stir up their thoughts about what they learn, about how on earth anyone can help someone else learn, and about what it means to know something." By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, Eleanor Duckworth, the degree of Doctor of Education, honoris causa, the hood with which you have been invested, and this diploma, which I place in your hand, are visible symbols of your membership in the Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you entitled.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, C. Kenneth Ongalo Obote.
C. Kenneth Ongalo Obote, Member of Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, lawyer, political change agent, philosopher. You are a champion of women's rights whose campaign to represent the Kalaki focused on changing women's economic status, emphasizing the importance of educational access, especially for girls. Your campaign also called for access to health care for all Ugandans, as well as infrastructure, micro-development, and rural aid programs. You graduated from Colby with a double major in government and philosophy, earned a law degree from Boston College, and were admitted to the Massachusetts Bar. In South Africa, you worked for Member of Parliament William Hofmeyr and were inspired by your close look at that country's transition from apartheid to a more inclusive and democratic form of government. You returned to Uganda to a life of public service. You began with the preparation of a 1996 Uganda Law Reform Commission report on domestic relations in the country, then participated in a decade-long process that culminated in a domestic relations bill aimed at the emancipation of women. That bill is currently under parliamentary consideration. Your steadfast dedication to these and to other causes have earned you the support and respect of your constituents and your fellow members of Parliament. Your intelligence, energy, personal charisma, and strong leadership capabilities bode well for a long and fruitful career in service to your country and its people. Colby is proud of you. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, C. Kenneth Ongalo Obote, the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, the hood with which you have been invested, and this diploma which I place in your hand are the visible symbols of your membership in the Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Elizabeth Ann Zernicki Quist.
Elizabeth Ann Zernicki Quist, volunteer, public servant, patriot. You graduated from Colby with a degree in economics and administrative science, became a certified public accountant, and started your own accounting practice. As a military spouse with a husband deployed in combat, you helped build the Semper Fi Fund and served as its treasurer. From its startup phase, when your kitchen table doubled as your desk, to its current iteration as a highly respected non-for-profit, the Semper Fi Fund has provided more than $75 million in grants to injured and ill combat veterans and their families. The funds help servicemen and servicewomen and those who love them cope with the trauma and upheaval that comes with being wounded in war. Semper Fi volunteers ensure that these brave people are not forgotten. Your own contributions to the cause have also been personal. Even your exposure to the stories gathered by Semper Fi could not have prepared you for the challenge of supporting your own critically injured husband, Captain Eric Quist, through his long and painful recovery. You spent months in military medical centers, not only offering love and strength to Eric, but also to the families of other wounded combat veterans. It was not a role you chose, yet in it you shone. Your sense of civic responsibility only grew in this difficult time. You served as the Occoquan, Virginia Town Council and are now Occoquan's Vice Mayor. Your service to family, community, and country brings honor to America and to your alma mater. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, Elizabeth Ann Zernicki-Quist, the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, the hood with which you have been invested, and this diploma which I place in your hand are the visible symbols of your membership in this Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa Eric Christian Chenery-Quist.
Eric Christian Chenery-Quist, Captain, United States Marine Corps, decorated combat veteran, leader, and role model. You majored in economics at Colby and began a career in the technology sector. But a saying of your father's, "What did you do for God and country today?" rang in your ears, and like him, you joined the Corps. You served 2 tours in Iraq and then began an assignment in the effort to move Helmand Province, Afghanistan, toward peace. There, an improvised explosive device destroyed your combat vehicle and left you with severe injuries, and you came home to heal. Despite doctors' worries that your feet might not be saved, you were determined to recover and to walk again on your own 2 feet. Through months of treatments and surgeries, pain and uncertainty, you remained a leader. As senior officer of the Wounded Warriors Floor at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, you did not let your own pain keep you from what you viewed as both a responsibility and a privilege, wheeling yourself from room to room to encourage younger Marines, many of whom had lost limbs. You are the recipient of the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star with Combat V, and 2 combat action ribbons. Your courage and unfaltering sense of duty have earned the respect of others wounded in combat, of your fellow Marines, of the medical professionals who have treated you, of those who have followed your inspiring recovery, and of the college that is honored to count you as an alum. Colby joins a grateful nation in thanking you for service to your country and those you fight to protect. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, Eric Christian Chenery-Quist, the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. The hood with which you have been invested in this diploma, which I place in your hand, are the visible symbols of your membership in this Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa Peter M. Rouse.
Peter M. Rouse, the fixer. You came to Colby from New Haven, Connecticut, where your father was professor of anthropology at Yale and your mother taught in the university's Institute for Oriental Languages. You majored in history, covered sports for the Echo, and were a standout third baseman. After graduating in 1968, you earned a master's degree from the London School of Economics and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. You began your government work as an aide to South Dakota's Senator James Abourezk, but were drawn to Alaska, where your Japanese immigrant grandparents had raised their family. You served as Chief of Staff to the state's Lieutenant Governor for 4 years, then returned to Washington to take up the same role for Senator Dick Durbin. Your 19 years as Chief of Staff to Senator Tom Daschle included his turn as Senate Majority Leader, and you were dubbed the 101st Senator for your extraordinary knowledge of Congress and its workings. In 2004, newly elected Senator Barack Obama convinced you to join his team. He said of you, "My chief of staff is as well connected and as well known, as popular and as smart and as savvy a person as there is on Capitol Hill, but is completely ego-free." All of those traits have combined to make you an irreplaceable asset in the Obama presidency. At the White House, you have been senior advisor to the president, chief of staff, the first Asian American to serve in that capacity, and since 2011, counselor to the president. There's a slogan around the White House your boss said in tribute to your ability to get the hard things done: "Let's let Pete fix it." By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, Peter M. Rouse, the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, the hood with which you have been invested, and this diploma which I place in your hand are the visible symbols of your membership in this Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, Gregory White Smith.
Gregory White Smith, prize-winning writer and co-author of 18 books. You graduated summa cum laude with a major in English in the class of 1973 and went on to earn advanced degrees from Harvard Law School and its Graduate School of Education. Diagnosed with inoperable brain cancer in 1986, you beat incredibly high odds against survival. After this experience, so vividly chronicled in your Making Miracles Happen, you and Stephen Nafee, your co-author, life partner, and business partner, co-founded the influential international directory Best Doctors, which connects patients with excellent physicians. Best Doctors parallels your earlier project, Best Lawyers, preeminent guide to the legal profession worldwide. The subjects of your books range from an exploration of men's emotional reticence to a murder in a Mormon family to an amusing narrative of your restoration of a 60-room mansion in South Carolina, now the site of a Juilliard-allied summer music festival. You are best known for your meticulously researched books on artists Jackson Pollock and Vincent van Gogh. Jackson Pollock, An American Saga, won the Pulitzer Prize for biography for its account of the interconnection between the artist's personal demons and his iconoclastic art. Most recently, your Vincent van Gogh life helps readers understand how Van Gogh's primal, joyful art emerged in part from his preternatural ability to absorb lessons from other artists, despite his unhappiness. Because you have so helpfully mapped the professions of law and medicine, served as an innovative patron of the arts, and most of all because you have written books of uncommon grace and liveliness and insight, Colby takes pride in counting you among our most distinguished graduates. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby, I confer upon you, Gregory White Smith, the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa. The hood with which you have been invested in this diploma, which I place in your hand, are the visible symbols of your membership in this Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams, I have the honor to present for the degree Doctor of Divinity, honoris causa, Metropolitan Savas Zambilis.
Metropolitan Savas Zambilis, lover of God, lover of popular culture, global ambassador. You were born to Greek immigrant shop owners in Gary, Indiana, and you came to Colby because you wanted to hang up the shop apron and see what life could hold. At Colby, you tried things on. You were a gifted actor, a punk rocker, a convener of all-night conversations about ancient and modern ideas. Your childhood faith was challenged by encounters with the likes of Friedrich Nietzsche, but after graduation, you sought to claim it again in a new and deeper form. You shed your belongings and went to Greece where you lived and prayed among monks. There began a life in the church. You received a master's in divinity from Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology, worked and studied in Oxford, England, and became a monk, then a deacon, then a parish priest. You were named Chancellor of the Greek Orthodox Diocese of America, Bishop of Troas, and you directed the Archdiocesan Office of Church, Society, and Culture, and chaired the National Assembly Committee on Church and Society. In 2011, you were consecrated Metropolitan of Pittsburgh, and in that capacity, you are the spiritual leader of Greek Orthodox parishioners in Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia. At every phase of your life in the church, you have been in the vanguard. As Metropolitan, you engage with contemporary society and its cultural realities from Orthodox Christian perspective, and you do that on Facebook as well as from pulpits. You illuminate the presence of the sacred in everyday life and call on all of us to remember and to act on our obligations to each other. By the authority of the Board of Trustees of Colby College, I confer upon you, Metropolitan Savas Zambilas, the degree of Doctor of Divinity honoris causa. The hood with which you have been invested and this diploma which I place in your hand are the visible symbols of your membership in the Society of Scholars, to all the rights and privileges of which I declare you eligible.
President Adams.
Dean Terhune.
President Adams, I am honored to present to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Hosce Ioannes viri clarissimi, huiusque collegii curatores, iam ordine studiorum designato functos, nunc tanquam literarum expertos, atque pectora recto cultu robusta gerentes, auctori mihi commissa, et vobis consentientibus ad gradum baccalaureatum admitto. Accepturi in artibus gradum candidatae accedant.
There are 6 members of the class of 2012 who are receiving their degrees today in absentia. They are Waik N. Bazaraki, Shane Began, Kevin Gerard Mahoney, Sean Kathleen Michael, Connor Walsh, and Harold Hao Yang. And now, Mr. President, I am pleased to present the candidates from the class of 2013 for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. By tradition, the highest ranking member and class marshal of the senior class receives the first diploma. This year, the highest ranking member and class marshal is the son of Ms. Sarah Rasmussen and Mr. John Rasmussen of Gloucester, Massachusetts. The class of 2013 class marshal, Alexander James Rasmussen. Thomas Dabney Abe. Daniel Julius Abrams. Archibald Clark Crawford Adams. Patrick Ryan Adams. Rebecca Sophie Aliber. Lindsay Rose Alston. Deborah Ann Amato. Philip MacDonald Amato. Chelsea Ann Ammons. Benjamin Sebastian Amy. Cody Salate Anderson. Petya Vaniva Andreeva. Trevor DeWalt Anson. Eliza Hannah Appleton. John David Arnold. Emmy King Arnzen. Carla Bess Aronson. In absentia, Ahmed Ossi. Nicholas Scott Aubin. Tito Bilolua Opeyemi Awe. Lydia Jo Ball. Nicholas Pederis Ballsbaugh. Justin Banks. Emily Catherine McGrory Barr. Hillary Davenport Barr. Alexander Andreas Barron. Jake Barton. Lester Allen Batiste. Josie Shannon Bazemore. Derek Dwayne Beasley Jr. Garrison Lyman Beck. Lauren Rochelle Becker. Elise Megan Began. In absentia, Brittany Nicole Bell. David Benjamin Bendit. Jade Alexis Bennett. Kevin Faulkner Phillipson Bennett. Mary Caitlin Bernard. Rebecca Lucy Barron. Nicholas Veloso Bethlehem. Ian Joel Bazaler. Chiran Singh Bandari. Jacob Peterson Billier. Jillian Pratt Bluen. Emily Christine Baum. Allison Jenna Bolger. Luke Michael Bowe. Susanna Leah Bowen. Sarah Jacqueline Brazelton. Benjamin Hawes Brower. Jackson McCrae Broadbent. Joseph Martin Broder. Connor Johnson Brophy. Carson Lee Brown. Clayton Maurice Brown. Michaela Catherine Brown. Melanie Lynn Brown. Christy Johnson Brown. James Benjamin Brown. Anne Marie Burke. Harper Rhea Burke. Jenny Alice Buskin. Freddie Cabrera. Alexander Frederick Kao. David Joseph Kane. Claudia Rich Camarino. Claire Elise Cannon. Colin Benjamin Canny. Anna Beth Karen. Kurt Robert Cawley. Zachary Thomas Sassir. Jennifer Lee Charette. In absentia, Jenny Jia Ying Chen. Chen Kai. William Francis Chen. Xue Qian Chen. Caroline Marie Chassar. Elizabeth Chafee Gamble Childs. Daniel Julian Chinyara. Thomas John Chippendale Jr. Eleni Tenzin Chofel. Emma Caperton Clancy. Maureen Elizabeth Clark. Gareth Wells Cleveland. Elizabeth Cynthia Deibler Cochran. Madeline Elizabeth Cohen. Brittany Rose Colford. Molly Ing Coleman. Evangeline Eleni Kandakis. Francesca LaFrance Cohn. Kelsey Ann Conroy. Kat Meyer Constein. Benjamin Kiu Cook. Daniel Patrick Covert. Tuckerman Bartlett Crater. Abigail Boyer Crocker. Ethan Van Crockett. Heather Abbott Cronin. Julia Rita Crowder. Laura Crowley. Olivia Crowley Gottlieb. Kimberly Brady Cunningham. Caitlin Caroline Kirkarudo. Emily Susan Zotter. Ellicott Keller Dandy. Stefan Philip Davitz. Caitlin Diane Davis. Charles Llewellyn Davis. Monica Jean Davis. Lauren Elizabeth D. Camilla. Alexandra May DeConti. Julia Noon de Guzman. Miles Connor DeClerc. Matthew Ryan Delaney. Danielle Vaughn DeLarco. Michelena Marcu Daneka. David Gilroy Deneroff. Brett Ashley Depper Goldstein. Justin Nicholas DeSantis. Brian Swindell Desmond. Ian Price DeVoe. Beryl Dudney. Colin Alejandro Dilly. Elizabeth Jane DeMarco. Aaron Ritger Dindorf. Tondo Dlamini. Luke Alexander Doherty Monroe. Sean Patrick Donahue. Lucy S. Dotson. Indigo Daniel Turpin Dow. Laura K. Duff. Raymond Vincent Duffy Jr. Claire Elizabeth Dunn. In absentia, Eli Nicholas Radin Dupree. Eric Lee Eberhardt. Pasquale Petrilli Eckert. Samantha Michelle Kingsland Eddy. Courtney Lee Erskine. Andrew Justin Fabricant. Keith Bailey Fairbrother. Ethan Elbert Farina Henry. Catherine Elizabeth Fecto. Victoria Yuan Fang. Sarah Carolyn Fensor. Emily Catherine Ferrero. Gordon Sedgwick Fisher. Lauren Fisher. Patrick David Fitzgerald. Megan Eleanor Flaherty. Beth Ellen Fleming. Mary Virginia Fletcher. Andrew Stryker Flynn. Kelly Catherine Foreman. Allison Julia Fowle. Allison Frank. Charles Edwards Frank. Garth Peter Franklin. Madeline Toll Friedman. Alicia Rose Fernari. Peter John Gabransky. Charlotte Hollowell Gardner. Daniel Franklin Guerin. Lindsay Elizabeth Gerard. Kara Lynn Gaynor. Harrison Stephen Gelderman. Lucy Davenport Garrity. Julian Christopher Geraputo. John William Gilboy. Kelsey Lynn Gillen. Patrick Richard Gilligan. Hannah Glickman. Allison Henry Gluck. Olga Viktorovna Golovkina. Spencer Ryan Gopal. Nicholas Hartman Graves. Lily Elizabeth Violet Greenberg. Kayla Marie Gross. Rachel Maria Guerra. Rachel Catherine Haynes. Jennifer Rose Hale. Catherine Lucy Hallett. Carly Elise Hollowell. Galen Klein Hammett. Kathleen Diamond Hamry. Christina Haney. Benjamin Alexander Hannon. Scott Philip Harf. Patrick Anthony Harper. Kendall Ann Hatch. Nina Phillips Hatch. Andrew Viking Hedberg. Sia Upendra Hegde. Patrick John Henke. Claire Adrian Herbig. Zoe Alyssa Herman. Allison Sarah Hess. Brady Stone Hessline. Benjamin Anderson Hill. Erica Elizabeth Hinman. Molly Patricia Hodson. Maxwell Michael Hogue. John Willard Holman IV. Sarah Allison Holmes. Lisa Whitney Hoops. James Anthony Stewart Hotzmans. Catherine Santry Hauser. Cassie Kashi Huang. Huang Wei Ming. Arthur Anderson Huber III. Woody Huber. Elizabeth Marie Hughes. Shaquan Antonio Hunt. Georgina Anna Cecily Hurst. Daniel Kendall Huzzy. Mujenzi Innocent. John Stanley Eisman. Jason James Ito Adler. Molly Elizabeth Jackal. Rachel Norton Jacobs. Constance Kelly Jangro. John James Jennings IV. Yi Chen Jiang. Ashley Maureen Johnson. Daria Malia Jones. Peter Crane Jones. Marcus Ulf Axel Josephson. Sarah Elizabeth Janad. Catherine Durant Call. Kareem Khalil. Allison Wilcox Kane. Max Benjamin Canner. Lisa Cluett Kaplan. Samuel Marcus Kaplan. Emily Elizabeth Carr. Hillary Elizabeth Keach. Virginia Ann Kiesler. Michael Harold Keller. Christian Thomas Kelso. Malcolm Lorber Kerr. Peter James Kerr. Aurora Yvonne Kesley. Israel May Kidson. Byung San Kim. Jaeon Kim. Jisol Kim. Nicolette Hannah Kim. Shelley Lynn Kind. Esther Mavis King. Emma Elizabeth Klein. Jared Corey Cloth. Kelly Elizabeth Neeland. Yulia Knuth. Bjorn Eric Knudsen. Nicholas Milton Condilis. Dominic Varnier Kone. Neil David Kopser. Leah Nicole Korsmeyer. Jake Benjamin Kramer. Nathan Alphonse Crump. Eliza Blake Lamoen. Michael Austin Laeth III. Courtney Nicole Laird. Sarah Marlin Lake. Marielle Jean Lambrucos. Michael Thomas Langley. Matthew Clark Lapine. Matthew Anders Larson. Eliza Ruth Helling Larson. Tyler James Lozone. Amanda Lee Laviguerre. Adam Charles LaViolet. Catherine Danielle Laxon. Mi Phuong Le. Catherine Noble Wishard Lee. Larissa Nina Lee. Andres Javier Lemus Sentes. Anna Rose Leshen Lindell. Samantha Glenda Lessard. Tom Laterno. Rebecca Haley Levinson. Emma Jess Levin. Julie Elizabeth Lasker Levine. Lloyd L. Liang. Morgan Therese Lingard. Michael Joseph Linsky III. Audrey Renshaw Lomax. Rebecca A. London. Madison Oswald Lewis. Keith Ranny Love. Mackenzie Elise Love. Sarah Ingersoll Lyon. Vanessa Kathleen Lyons. June Ma. James Dent McDougall. Donald Francis McMaster Jr. Elizabeth Jeanette Malone. Diana Manduca. George Fanton Manley. Matthew George Mantikis. Patrick Hiroaki Martin. Taggart Emerson Martin III. Jacob Eli Marks. Mohammed Arjaman Masood. Mark Woodruff Massey. Abbott Gray Matthews. John Patrick Mall. Holly Elizabeth Mon. Laramie Laybourne Maxwell. Rebecca Sarah Mayer. Emma Ride Mayville. Rebecca Ann McAfee. Alexandra Kingman McAuliffe. Catherine Ryan McCarrick. Owen David McCarran. Zachary Enlow McCartney. Priscilla Louise McKelvey. Ian Freeman McDonald. Delaney Laura McDonough. Catherine Harrison McElroy. Jamarly Lavon McFarland. Corey James McGrath. Eileen Elizabeth McGuire. Gregory Llewellyn McKillop. Jacqueline Elizabeth McLaughlin. Vichit Ron Miyus. Ethan Michael Meggs. Andrew Campbell Mizell. Stephen George Merriam. Sean Michael Mers. Margaret McNitt Meyer. Britta Lilon Midness. Kyle Andrew Miglerini. Tendai Aaron Mundangi Fufu. Kaylee Teresa Monahan. Allison Iris Mond. Megan Elizabeth Mooney. Julia Grace Moore. Courtney Farrell Moran. Brian Jeffrey Morgan. Brendan Moriarty. Jane Mensing Munger. Shamika S. Murphy. Rebecca Alexandra Santos Murray. Beatrice Kitamirike Nyachirioa. Alina Emily Nakos. Sarah Goldman Nalvin. Kelsey Ray Chiemi Naruse. Jean-Jacques Ndaisenga. Mark Timothy Nelson. Rebecca Suzanne Newman. Alexandra Nichols. Chelsea Ann Nickerson. Stephen Thomas Nodder. William Howard Norton. Nicholas Fair Novak. Kate Livingston O'Callahan. Colleen Marie O'Donnell. Olisa Dumbi Nwaka Amaka Oko. Camila Kana Ostro. Sean Tooker Paddington. Nicholas John Papanastasiou. Tyler Becker Parrott. Molly Elizabeth Parsons. Marguerite Wolfel Patterson. Charlotte Emily Peck. Michaela Catherine Pembroke. Andrew Rollins Pepper Anderson. Ismael Perez. Michael Stephen Perot. Hillary Matina Perry. Benjamin Adam Perrin. Alec Daniel Peters. Lindsay Lori Peterson. Tess Marie Pettish. Jessica Fatima Perez. Catherine Grace Pistol. Allison Lee Polchinski. Philip Wenz Prosapio. Lindsay Danielle Pruitt. Catherine Elizabeth Raker. Mary McCrae Randall. Jalene Chuna Ragasa. Corey Elizabeth Reichler. Avram Levi Reisman. Meredith Francis Reynolds. Arlinda Rejdo. Sarah Elizabeth Rich. Connor Alexander Richardson. Wesley Ian Richardson. Dylan Woodward Reeson. Nicholas Peter Rimsa. Sean Andre Ripoll Cruz. Anastasia Brianna Rivard. Hallie Elizabeth Roby. Cordelia Cassidy Roberts. Lindsay Louise Roberts. Mary Elizabeth Rogers. James Edwin Rooney. Rachel Ann Rosenbaum. Melanie Louise Ross. Carly Melissa Rushford. Jasmine Barkley Russell. Brian James Russo. Elliot Lawrence Ruvelson. Alana Jane Sanborn. Hillary Elizabeth Sapansky. Cara Diane Saunders. Jameson Michael Sawyer. Grace Mitchell Schlesinger. Samuel Philip Schmidt. Chelsea Amelia Schultz. John Schrader. Lane Catherine Schwab. Michelle Rebecca Sears. Janar Saitmagzimova. Husyun Seo. Justine Marie Saraganian. Gregory Martin Seifert. Emily Lorraine Schenkel. Anna Austin Shapiro. James Blaine Sham IV. Sabor Matti Shirazi. Catherine Margaret Shy. Emily Victoria Schur. Olivia Judith Schur. Robert Trevor Sherburne. Anthony Shoji Shimamoto, in absentia. Zachary John Simon. Julia Cook Simmons. Orit Katerina Shirka. Shireen Nazari Smalley. Michael Smigelski. Mariah Sophie Smith. Mimi Elizabeth Smith. Tyrell Muhammad Smith. Rose Sarah Solomon. Paul Dyer Spada. Charles Christopher Spatz. Adam Noah Spirer. James Sterling Staley. Naomi Alina Staley. Jesselyn Steinman. Michael Warren Stevens Jr. Carter Raymond Stevens. Madeline Mary Strakota. Maid Strasovic. Julio Cesar Swastegi. Jillian Aylin Sullivan. Cassandra Kathleen Sullivan. Ki Suan. Diana Gita Sunder. Jared Sears Supple. Molly Elizabeth Sussla. Arvia Satandi. William David Taft. Joseph Matthew Talienti. Margaret Catherine Taylor. Noah James Teachy. Megan Tadoldi. Brittany Thomas. Adam Kinney Thompson. Leah Sarna Tachansky. Jeremy Scott Teresi. Amy Catherine Tortorello. Whitney Hale Truck. Shani Sultana Tropa. Jennifer Chen. Jacob Philip Sherman Tucker. John William Tully. Adriana Delano Twombly. Chelsea Ray Tyler. Emily Rose Unger. Erica Susan Vandenberg. Noah Ahmed Van Valkenburg. Emily Varney. Ryan Michael Vayat.
Everyone say happy birthday to Val. She's next.
Valerie Rita Vesnaver. Jesus Santiago Vidauri Martinez. Jessica Ann Valella. Caroline Harding Wade. Riley Leona Wagner. Louisa Horlbeck Walker. Leah Hope Walpuck. Cale Jenks Wardell. Lindley Elizabeth Wells. Rosalie Beth Carney Wenberg. Richard Conrad Wiederhold. Sarah Eliana Wiener. Charlotte Tenney Wiesenberg. Thomas Lee Williams. Ryan Dual Winter. Trent Allen Wiseman. Gabriella Adela Wyatt. Tien Wen Xu. In absentia, Sui Yang Xu. Matt Udemark. Zokela Zairai. Caitlin Sarah Zadeklik. Nicholas Wallace Zeller. Christine Zeng. Lauren Elizabeth Zion. Mr. President, this concludes the awards for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Adolescentes non iem discipuli sed socii, quantum vobis potuerent facere praeceptoris factum est. Doctrinae veterum concilia philosophorum arcana leguesque naturae, apid vos sunt proposita, hac tenis pectora vestra ad vitam preparata sunt per alienum sapientiam, nunc vos ipsi discite, quae vita doceat. Beatus ille, qui non nimis mature, paedagogos dimittit. Memores almae matris, in mundum vestra viandum opera exit atque valete. Parents, friends, and colleagues, please join me in one last round of applause for the great class of 2013. Senior class members of Colby's many singing groups will now lead us in the singing of the Alma Mater. Following the Alma Mater, please remain standing for the benediction.
Hail, that's our note, hail, right? Okay, good. 1, 2, ready. Hail, Colby, hail, thy people far and near. Stand at thy call, our alma mater dear. Thy shade as we call our steps together at thy shrine. Thy memory holds regret.
I welcome you into a spirit of prayer. God of hope and wonder, bless these happy people gathered here today. Bless the proud parents, grandparents, siblings, and friends, those with us and those who cannot be. Bless the educators of all kinds, and bless these accomplished graduates as they prepare for the next step of their journey. As we go, may what we know in our heads sink into our hearts, that we might meet a needy world with compassion and curiosity. And may what we feel in our hearts emanate into our hands and our feet, that we might do the work we can where we find ourselves. And may the work we do in turn make its way back into our minds and onto our lips, that we might tell stories and dream dreams of a better world, a world more run by wisdom than by fear and prejudice, a world more ruled by love and friendship than by division and animosity, more moved by justice than by greed. Go forth with the blessing of friendship and learning. Go forth with the persistent hope of all that is to come. Go forth with the blessings of the God of peace and hope and love this day and forevermore. For all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes. Amen.